So let's go ahead and get started. Who's feeling good about their presentations? Good. I'm so glad to see that some people feel confident. So here's the schedule in case you're not sure. You need a reminder, but that's going to be the order. And then today, while presentations are going to be like kind of our highlight of the day, we are going to be, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about paper 3 writing because we've done most of the heavy lifting, and right now it's going to be the stuff that is going to be a little bit easier that we've seen in other papers, but is still important and you're still going to be graded on. So I want to make sure that you have that information. So first I just want to think, so what have we talked about with writing paper 3? What have we? Yeah, Shania. We talked about the methods, yeah. Yeah, discussion, results, and introduction. Yeah, so we've done, we've spent, like a week and a half, 2 weeks, really talking about how we're writing these and like the data analysis, things like that. So if you need to review what we've gone over, there are these handouts. There's also different videos, like playlists, where you can kind of review, see what we've gone over, see what we've done, so that you have that information available and you can see, okay, yeah, I do have this foundation. So we've got some stuff that's left. We still haven't gone over like the details about how do you write the title page, works cited, survey copy, outline, because that's part of, you're including that in your final paper. And then also editing. So we're going to cover the parts of the page so that you kind of have the nuts and bolts. You have the foundation, and then today, and then we're going to be doing the editing, so more fine details on Thursday. So we've got the title page, and if you don't have one of these handouts, I recommend grabbing it, and so that you can take notes about what's required, because that you'll want to have the information about what's required on each part. So what goes on the title page? I've got an image here that kind of points out some of that information. What goes on the title page? Your name, yeah. Okay, what else? Yeah, the person, so the person who wrote it, that person's name, and then the title of the paper. So make sure you're putting the title of the paper, and then you have your name, and then what else? Yeah, so just put San Diego State University. You're putting your university. So an original paper title, you are putting your name, and then also the school. So that means San Diego State University. If you want to, you can put a running head and then the page number. You don't have to. It's required if you're doing proper APA citations, but it's not required for this paper. You're not going to get points down if you're missing the running head or the page numbers, but you will get points down if you're not having this information. So if we're looking at the paper 3 prompt, how many pages is the title page? 1 page, yeah. So don't make it 2 or 3 pages, just 1 page. So that is all that's required. There might be APA guidelines that ask for more information. You're not required to do that. I'm not grading it. I'm just going to ignore it. But you just have to have the original paper title, your name, and the school. Any questions about that? All right, good. So now we're skipping over, I'm skipping over the rest of that stuff on the page, the introduction, the methods, the results, and the discussion, so that you can use that to take your own notes if you want. But if you have the other papers with your notes there, great, don't bother to look at it. But we're going to have the works cited. So what's on the works cited page? Or what's on the references page? The sources, yeah. So you have to have the title, references, and include that in the center. Here is the running head that you don't have to have, but you may include that. Here's a page number that you don't have to have, but you may include that. And you have to list every article, book, etc. that you reference in your paper. And there's, what are the requirements for the reference requirements for this paper? 3, yeah. So minimum of 3. You can have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can have as many as you want, but you have to have at least 3. How about what's the most number of sources that you can have from the reader? What's that? 1? 2, yeah. 2. So you can have 1 or 2 from there. You can have 0 from the reader. That's fine, but the maximum is 2. So make sure that you're following those. I've got a bonus question. What sections do you need to cite references in? There's 2 sections that require references. I see. Name one of them, Shania. Yep. Do you know the other one? Yes, discussion. So you need to you have introduction and discussion, and there's a minimum of 1 per section. So that means you can have 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have as many as you want, but there does need to be at least 1. And then if you only put 1 in the introduction and 1 in the discussion, is that okay? That's not okay. Why? You need 3. Yeah. So make sure if you have 1 in the introduction and 2 in the discussion, you're fine. Make sure that you're meeting those requirements. Right now, I'm not talking about the formatting of it. I'm just talking about what goes in there, so the information that you need to put in there, because we're going to use Thursday to talk about the formatting. How many pages is this? Well, how many pages is the references? Just the references. Probably 1. If you have so many references you need 2, that's fine. But you should probably only have 1 page of references. It's a separate page. It's its own page. Don't include it in the end. You're not printing these out, so you don't need to worry about paper. Any questions about that? Yeah.
How many the minimum number of articles from SSU library?
Well, let's think about that. Minimum 3, max 2. So what's the minimum? 1. Yeah, minimum 1. So, but you can have as many as you want from the library. All right. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you. Yeah, it's good to get this stuff clarified. All right. Next, I want you to include a copy of your survey. So the title is going to be, you're going to include a title of Appendix A, because it's going to be like the addition, so include a copy. Screenshot is okay, so long as I can read it. You don't have to include the copy, and you don't have to have like the Word document. It must be a part of the document that you submit for paper 3. So that means if you're submitting paper 3 and like uploading that, like your typed out Word document or whatever, and then you want to submit the PDF separately, don't do that. Figure out how to get them both together in the same document. So yeah, there's ways that you can make like your Word document a PDF and then the other one a PDF, and you can find a PDF merger and merge them. There's so many ways to make it work. Any questions about that? And then, yeah, that could be 1 or 2 pages. So the other thing that you want to include is an outline. So have you guys been doing outlines? Yeah. So some people may, the outline that you submit in the end should match what's in your paper. So that means that if you are updating your outline, updating the outline that from your updated outline, or if you don't use your original outline, if you've written something different, then that means that you should update your outline and turn that in. Because I'll look at that updated outline, and if there's a difference between them, like obviously it's not going to be the exact same content because you're going to be writing a lot more here than you're going to be writing in your actual paper, but there should be, like the outline should match the expanded version of what you've written in the paper. It does not need to be a part of the file. So I said the survey does. You have to have them in the same file together. This does not. There'll be a separate space to turn that in online. Any questions about that? So yeah, this idea is so that I can kind of go through and like understand some of your ideas. It can make the grading a little bit easier for me, and I can kind of see some of your thought process. All right. I have some observations from the RD outlines. So first one is please use sources in the discussion section. You can go visit the library if you're stuck and you're feeling like, I'm not sure exactly how to find a good source to that helps support this idea. The librarians, that is literally their job, to help you find stuff like that. So go, ask them, check in with them. They can help you with finding those sources that can really help you if you're searching the databases and you're not finding what you need. Also, follow the data analysis guidelines. So what that means is I want to gets a little abstract, but I think if we look at some of the data, we can kind of understand it a little easier. So these are the slides that I used 2 weeks ago on April 16th. And one of the things is if we were to just make a table of this data and say okay, as far as news sources go, we've got 4 people who use NPR, 1 person who looks at BBC, 1 person who uses Vice, and 2 people who use Fox. Is that okay to just put that in a graph and be done? Why not? So you do need to make connections, yeah. And you also, one thing is you should be combining 2 questions. So if you're just looking at the question, what do people, what do they read, or what's their favorite news source, then you're just using 1 question. So that's what you need to think of another question. You need to combine another question. So, I mean, you could even say, let's look at, by people who read the different source. You could look at gender and say, okay, within people who read Vice, we've got two females and 1 male. People who read Fox, it's 2 males. People who read NPR, 2 males, 2 females. People who read English, 1 female. Or people who read BBC, 1 female. So the point is that you need to you need to sort into these groups and then count the numbers within the groups. So you can't just have I'm thinking if I were to make a table, let's see, I'm going to insert a table. If I just have a data table like this, where it's Fox 2, Vice 3, NPR 4, BBC 1. That is okay to think about and look at, but you need to take it 1 step further, and that's why this analysis was done, where you're looking at it by major. You're looking at it by another piece of information. And if that doesn't make sense, let's have a discussion about it, because there were several people who turned in things that were not really looking at more in-depth information. They weren't crossing the 2 questions, which kind of maps up with the do's and the don'ts, where it says also not comparing demographic data, and also you're connecting, make sure that what you are doing is you're connecting multiple questions together. Does anyone have a question about that? So make sure in your analysis you're not just looking at something you don't want a data table like this. You want a data table like this, where you're looking at, after you sort the first time, you sort a second time and analyze that data. Any questions? All right, I think I've asked that 3 or 4 times, and every time no one said anything. Another thing, I forgot to write it right here, is that when you make suggestions for the future, is that make sure you're focusing on the research process. I think some people were saying like, oh, I can't remember the exact things, but they're saying like, oh, I would like start earlier, or I would like, you know, maybe like write my, like, not, they were talking about something that was not involved in the research process, like the making the hypothesis, designing the questionnaire, giving out the questionnaire. So don't think about like, oh, I would read different articles. That's not part of the research process that we're thinking about doing differently next time. So so like an example, so I realize that's a little bit small. I'll put it into presenter mode soon. Okay, so yeah, that's what that's saying. That's saying like, you know, don't focus on the entire project. Like, for example, this is not what you should be doing. It's like, oh, I read different articles. All right, so at this point, any questions? I'm going to hand those back, like I said, at the end of class. What I want to say is also to get ready for Thursday, I want you to take some effort to think about formatting rules and check out sources online so that way you can come in prepared and ready to discuss formatting rules, and you're not just listening to me talk to you. You're taking a part of your, yeah, this Thursday. So if you're not here, like that, it's not homework, it's not graded, but what that means is that you can, you should be able to do this by yourself, and I'll be making a video. So it's still class like normal. The thing is, I'm just not taking attendance. That doesn't mean yay, we don't need to come. That just means, well, there's a little booster. So what we've got is, what I've passed out to you is a handout that gives you some information about, let me see, do I have it? Yeah. So this handout right here, one thing that's important is that in your paper, it has to be all double-spaced 12-point Times New Roman font. So that means that's what you're writing your entire paper in, the title page, the work cited, everything. However, there's some things like alignment, indentation, capitalization, and emphasis. These are different types of formatting that you are graded on. So if you think, I don't know what those are, there's some information here, and you can also click to links for more information and more in-depth explanations, which will be posted online so you can find out more about it. After you get that information, what you're going to be doing is, let's see, page 4, is looking at this sample APA paper and figuring out how you write, how you do the formatting in an APA paper. And this has the rules and the explanations that you need to be following. So that means take a moment and I've done the title page for you. So the title page, Times New Roman 12-point font, and you have the alignment is center, no indentation, title case for capitalization, and no emphasis. Titles, so you've got that first one, which you can find out by looking at this. You can look at, that gives the information and the explanations right here about how to write the title, your name, and all the information that you're going to put on the title page. The next thing you're going to be looking for is titles. So that's going to be like the paper title, references, Appendix A. So you can go through and find like, you're not going to do an abstract, skip that, but you can find out here you're going to find the information here where it says the title of the paper is centered and not bolded. So what that means is the alignment is center, the indentation none, capitalization title case, and emphasis none. So if what I've written down just sounds like foreign words to you and you're really not sure exactly what I'm talking about, this is the opportunity to go online, read those articles, find out more about like what indentation, alignment, and title case and sentence case mean. So you're just taking the categories from this front page. So you're looking at the examples, these words right here, and you're figuring out which one goes for each one because you will be graded on this information and formatting your paper correctly. It's so boring, but it's important. Any questions about that? All right, another thing is please get ready for Thursday, review chapters from engaging questions. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of them is you can think about the questions that you have, so that way you can ask them on Thursday. And also, I cannot possibly cover everything that's listed, that's in engaging questions that you will need to know to write your paper successfully on Thursday. There's just not enough time, and I don't think enough attention span to do that. So, I'll be covering some of the main points, but if you're able to think about like the information you need to know, that way you can come in with a background, come in with that reference, and you'll be kind of ready to listen and everything. Are there any questions about that? All right. Yeah.
I have a question about deadlines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when is the deadlines for the IM and RDM?
Okay. Yeah. When is that? We covered that last class. So when are those due? When is the final paper due? Does anyone remember? May 14th by 11:59. What if you want to turn in a rough draft and get my feedback on it? No? May 3rd, yeah. So that's this Friday, which I realize, and if you want to turn in like just one part of your paper or something like that, you can also do that, and I can give you feedback for what you're turning in. But it's going to be, you're going to have to, yeah, you can turn it in by then. I can give you feedback. I'll give you feedback by May 10th, which I realize, isn't a heck of a lot of time, but there's not too much time. I'll try and get it back to you before May 10th. It kind of depends on how many people submit it, because if like 2 people submit it, I can probably get it back to you in a couple days. If everyone in the class submits, yeah, it's going to be a week. I can't, or maybe less for some people, but like I can't guarantee before that. Yeah, so May 14th, and yeah, if you go to like the slides, or like if you're looking at, let's see, the Living Reader, like, yeah, it has that information on the most recent part where it says like, yeah, May 14th, and it's due online. Yeah, May 14th at 11:59 p.m. and it's due 11:59. Grades are due May 24th, so I'm trying to give you like, give me those 10 days to correct your finals, correct those papers, and have everything done and calculated grades. Any other questions? All right, yeah, so if there's no other questions, then that's great, because that gives us like 50 minutes to do the presentations and work on, and for today. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and get set up. So the first group is Group E. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to clean up here. Go ahead, other groups, get ready. We'll get started hopefully in about like 5 minutes or so that we can do the presentations, and there's time afterwards if anyone has any questions.